you basically turn yourself into the bank. Simply get the banks to give you all of their money at 0% interest.
Right. Inflation, you lose money.
Yeah. There's 30 plus ways to make money in real estate. If I would have just got a little slap on the wrist, nothing would have changed.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cody Cottle Show, where I bring on the best of the best to have high-level conversations to help you become who God has called you to be. And today I have an amazing man named Brandon Elliot, who is a real estate investor, credit specialist, aka how to get a lot of finances. You can go make a lot of money in real estate. Welcome, Brandon. How you doing?
Cody, what's happening, man? I'm doing well. How are you?
Man, just grateful to have you on the show. Really excited to dive into this subject because I think a lot of people aren't educated on it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And thank you so much for having me. I love this studio. I'm excited to be here. It's awesome.
Let's go, man. Well, let's dive into it. Before we get into credit and wealth and real estate and all of that, I always like to set the tone a little bit with what do you value most in life?
What do I value most in life? I would say probably my time. The last couple years, in the past, I would give out my time a lot to individuals that wouldn't necessarily appreciate it as much. I realized that, growing up with little money or no money, I realized that, I had all the time in the world. Once you start actually making money, you start getting real busy, right? Like in today's society, everybody's so busy. But now I really appreciate time as much as possible. I want to be with friends, family. I want to enjoy life and do it on my own terms.
Come on, that's some wisdom right there, man. How old are you?
32.
Some wisdom for 32, bro.
Yeah.
Most of us get to like 60 and then we're like, why did I give all my time away to not the things I value most in my life?
Yeah.
I'm on the same wavelength with you, man. I've been gung-ho about business, moved out here to San Diego, all these things. And then I realized, wow, my time's so valuable, where I spend it and who I spend it with.
Oh, of course.
And I don't want to chase the rabbit's tail.
Yeah.
I want to build my life by design in the way that allows me to enjoy it. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, man, that like you are already on that, wavelength. And I'm sure that kind of fuels into what you value most in life, typically fuels into what you do in life. And, you're in the world of Credit Counsel Elite. That's your company. You founded it. You're teaching, people how to get massive access to credit. So let's talk about that. How are you helping yourself and others get more time through the vehicle that you've built? Tell us about that.
Yeah, man, it just comes down to financial freedom and teaching generational wealth. I'm very blessed that over the years, I always say real estate completely changed my life. Credit was the catalyst to do it. Without credit, I probably would have given up in real estate a long time ago, right? But I utilized credit. I got very confident and educated on what to do within credit to figure out how the lenders are judging us and how to fit within their box of lending.
That's so good.
And that just allowed me to kind of like jump leaps and bounds within real estate and build up a strong portfolio to get great, passive income, which is awesome, and really start developing the freedom to do really what I've come to find is really my biggest passion, which is helping out more people. Once I see, like I always grew up more like I have to put on the mask first myself, which it's important. Like you got to make yourself successful before you help out others, right? But when you start kind of doing, it was just been way more fulfilling seeing other people skip the line and be able to get results a heck of a lot faster without all the, the trial and error that I went through.
Yeah. So, a lot of people don't know your full story, right? And how you got to where you're at. So let's give a snapshot, because I like to go deep in different areas on the show, but I also want to create space like 5 to 7 minutes of you just kind of telling us your story of how you got to where you're at.
Yeah. How deep you want to go?
Man, all the way down the rabbit hole, Alice.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, I grew up in New Jersey with a single parent mother. She was diagnosed with manic depressive bipolar. At a very young age, I realized that I had to kind of be the man of the house. I had to grow up. So I met my father when I was 18 in court, so he could stop paying child support. Didn't have that male father figure. My mom is a soldier. Like she really held down the fort, and she did the best that she could, and really raised like 3 misfits, So me and my 2 sisters. What I can say is that at a very young age, I put more pressure on myself than I probably should have at a young age, and And to release that pressure, I found myself getting kind of addicted to marijuana, and just going down that path, it opened up the wrong doors for me that I was going down very quickly. And long story short, fast forward a bunch of time, a bunch of years, once I moved out here to kind of get away from all the nonsense that I was surrounding myself by having guns to my head, knives to my throat back in New Jersey, I realized that just because the atmosphere was different, I was still doing the same things. I had an explosion in my apartment making hash oil out here in Pacific Beach, and burnt 40% of my body, got skin graft on my arms and legs. I was induced into a coma for a full week, and had court waiting for pretrial services and so forth. And it was just a crazy situation. I had to learn how to walk again. That whole situation really opened up my eyes when I was laying in bed, bedridden for 3 weeks, realizing that, if I was intelligent enough to go down the wrong path and be somewhat, successful in going down that rabbit hole, misguided and everything else, if I got around the right influence and I started really focusing on something better that I could lift my head up and be, confident about, that I was excited about and proud to bring back to like my mom or other family members, I thought that, if I triple down on that, it would really turn into something successful. And I'm really blessed and thankful that God gave me that second chance to protect me. But also, with my personality type, if I would have just got a little slap on the wrist, nothing would have changed.
Yeah.
So I needed something very drastic. I needed to literally be on fire and have an explosion to get me out of that path, put me on the right path. And then doors just started opening up, real estate. I was doing door-to-door sales with Kirby vacuum cleaners, got really good at that, and got recruited into a real estate investment company here in Hillcrest back in 2011, 2012. And we were focusing on pre-foreclosures at the time. There was a ton of it. And what that looked like was just a little bit of it was a little bit of education, but way more motivating. Seeing the whole systems and money and everything, like the impact we were making on people. So that's kind of where I just went down this rabbit hole of doing my own education, books, podcasts, YouTube, like this and so forth. And yeah, I figured out how to be able to fund my real estate deals with credit.
Come on. And then today, fast forward, you're humble, but you're quite successful now. You've made some big moves, especially in the last few years. And now, Credit Counsel Lead has grown, and you guys are helping people, all around the world do the same thing.
Yeah. I'm very blessed. We have a little over 8 million in assets, like around 30K a month, 30,000 a month in passive income from real estate, which is awesome. Airbnbs that take care of us and so forth. And the best part is I have no money into any of my real estate deals. Doing the BRRRR strategy, we pull out all our money at the end of the day, and we just put it right back into our credit that we borrowed it from originally, and we repeat that process.
Dude, that's gold, and we're gonna get into that, guys. Don't worry, we're gonna get some gold for you today. But I do want to take a moment because it's really cool. We actually have a lot more in common than I knew, Brandon. Yeah. And, I went down the wrong path too. Let's put it that way. My dad was a biker gang leader, been in prison my whole life, drug dealer, all that stuff. I kind of followed in his footsteps without fully knowing it. Found myself at a fork, in my past, and really bad things had to happen to really pivot me to want to be better, to want to do better. And I had the same thing, like, hey, I'm having success here. What does that look like if I applied it over here? And I bet you can relate to this. I'm just going to say it because I told you the one rule in this show is there's no rules.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
I talked to some of my buddies that used to be drug dealers that are in business now, living out the call God has on their life.
Let's go.
And I'm like, it's funny because today the only thing that we have to risk is losing money, failing and filing bankruptcy and starting all over again.
Yeah.
We live in the best country in the world.
Yeah.
And back then it was waking up and it's, am I going to go to jail or am I going to get killed today?
Yeah. 100%.
And that was a reality we lived with.
Yeah. scary.
It is.
It's crazy.
But then when it comes to business, we're not afraid to take the risks.
Yeah.
And I bet that paid a huge attribution to you being able to take risk, borrow money, leverage credit, go all in on real estate.
Oh, yeah.
Am I right on that?
Oh, for sure. I think my risk tolerance versus the average person out there is definitely leaps and bounds. And that's why, when I was younger, I used to put money on a pedestal. Like I used to think of successful people, it would like make me nervous to speak to them. Now I don't put anybody on a pedestal. I realize that even the best of the best, they have something. They're not, all areas aren't magnified and amazing. So I learn from people that are crushing it in certain areas, and I really I think it's paid off in many ways.
Yeah, man, that's amazing, dude. And so let's kind of get into it, right? There are a lot of people that heard you say a few moments ago, hey, I own 8 million assets, $30,000 a month in passive income, and all these things, and all of us want that. Most people want passive income. They want to be wealthy. They want to have assets, but they don't understand the process to get there. So let's kind of have you educate us today.
Yeah.
Your strategy was you leverage credit to get into real estate. Can you teach us?
Yeah. So I think it just comes down to really start identifying how the lenders are judging us. Like how are the credit bureaus judging us, right? There's 6 boxes that make up our credit score, and many people don't even know what those are, right? So once you identify what those 6 boxes are, how they work, how they are hurting you, what it's going to look like if you do this or this or this with your credit, or keep a high balance and so forth, how it's going to affect, or get a new credit card, right? Those things are very crucial to identify and know beforehand, so that you can predict where your credit score is going to be, and you can actually start positioning yourself to really succeed with this stuff. So how we like to look at it is it's a 4-step process. It's educate, fix, build, and leverage. So education is throughout the whole process, right? But really, and what I'm teaching here with the education is really flipping the script on the banks. Like, think of it like this. We give all of our money to the banks. They give us 0.000, like nothing percent back, right?
Right. Inflation, you lose money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they lend it back out to us on obviously credit cards, which is high interest, personal loans, auto loans, business loans, mortgages, etc. Right? It just keeps going on. They average at least 500%. Sometimes it can get up to the 2,000, 3,000%. It's crazy. But, and also try going into your bank account like later today to your bank and ask to withdraw like 25 or 30K, right? They're going to laugh at you and be like, whoa, do you have a...
They try to stop you, then they try to set it up. We can't do that today.
Yeah.
And
do you have an appointment? Like, you got to make this 2-3 weeks in advance. I'm like, what? This is
my money.
Yeah, you didn't set that up in the beginning when I gave you the money. So it's astronomical. It's crazy. But they lend it back out to us. What I'm showing people how to do is flip the script on the bank. The banks are in the business of lending money. They're looking for low risk. So identify how to set yourself up, position yourself properly, and then simply get the banks to give you all of their money at 0% interest, and then you leverage it. Like, you put it to work. Like, be a good steward of the money. Don't go buying Ferraris and stupid things, and like put it to work.
Wait, I shouldn't get a $20,000 credit card and go buy Gucci tomorrow?
Yeah. You shouldn't be doing that. If you're going to buy some luxury car or something, put it on Turo, make money from it, whatever it may be, right? But afterwards, then you can pay back off the bank. They'll give you credit limit increases and so much more. And you're really just putting it to work. So fix, every single person needs fix. Like whether you're in the 400s or you're in the low 800s, you're going to need some type of fix, bottom line. Whether it's removing old, outdated personal info or whatever it may be. Next is really just positioning yourself to do a successful mass apply, is what I call it. It's an application sequence when, if you do it properly, you can get 10, 20, 30, 40 plus credit cards at once, and that's powerful, because you can do this every 6 months for yourself. You can remove all the hard inquiries right after. It doesn't hurt your credit. Like, you can get $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in new credit lines at 0% interest, many of which you'll get 5, 10, 15,000 in just sign up bonuses, like free cash, or that you could use either for cash back or traveling. We travel hack all the time.
Yeah.
And that's just like another caveat. part to it. But once you get, you know, 400,000 or 500,000 at 0% interest, these new credit lines, you know, it's time to put it to work. So we teach people in our group an infinite banking strategy where you can overfund a life insurance policy, pull it back out 10 days later, and then, you know, purchasing obviously real estate with it to get passive income, Turo, you know, you name it. And then obviously the last part is travel hacking, part of the leverage too. So you really get to start designing your life how you want, you know, life by design. But obviously we want people to get real estate, get passive income. It's a safe, strong investment. But even if you're not passionate about real estate, you have other goals, business ideas, aspirations, and so forth, then if money was ever the issue that's holding you back from hitting that, then we just want to be able to remove that excuse, right? Remove that, show you how to get funding, and really start, you know, sky's the limit.
So good. You know, what was going through my mind while you were teaching us this process and this framework that you've built is how the system, the education system, is set up not to educate us on this stuff.
Yeah.
You go through school.
It's crazy.
And you're literally engineered and conditioned to go get a job, to take on debt, to pay high interest, to fuel a system that people are getting wealthy off of.
It's a broken system, yeah.
It is. And it's like we're not taught as youth financial literacy.
Yeah.
But yet we also live in, you know, the greatest country in the world. That just needs to be said more.
Of course it does.
Come on. You know, like so many people beat up America. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Start traveling the world, and then you'll see these these different countries that are amazing in their own self, but the economy behind it, even the craziness that's going on in our country, there's still so much to be said of how great we have it.
What other country can you go get $400,000 in interest-free credit to create and buy assets that produce cash-on-cash returns, pay themselves off, and then create monthly recurring cash flow?
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
And then be on unemployment later on or something, like the craziness, you know? Like, I don't recommend it. I'm just saying, like, you know, I grew up poor, but American poor. Like, we always had food stamps. We had Section 8, you know, like we had a house. We had everything taken care of. We had friends, family, you know, churches that were helping out. So we were always good.
Yeah.
It's not like other countries.
So let's get into, let's talk a couple things about credit, just some tips that you can give. Yeah. You know, in the beginning, you mentioned there was 6 things that they're looking at.
Yeah, 6 boxes. Yep.
What are the 6 boxes?
Yeah, it comes down to your payment history, which is obviously late payments or good standings of payments. Your utilization, that's credit use. And then your derogatory remarks, like an eviction, repossession, bankruptcy, stuff like that. And then we have your average credit age, total accounts, and then the hard inquiries.
Okay. And you mentioned something in there that you can remove hard inquiries pretty fast.
Yeah, you know what's funny is a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on hard inquiries, thinking that's like the big thing. It's really actually, it only makes up 10% of your FICO.
Okay.
With that being said, it's like, it's a 2-part, you know, push to it. If you have too many hard inquiries, that could stop you right there. However, if you only have a few, that is not the thing that is crushing your score. That's not why you having too many hard inquiries doesn't justify being in the 650s. It's just not.
That's not why.
It's not the case.
It's because you're not stewarding what those cards are giving you.
You got collections, you got late payments, bottom line.
Because some of the systems, and correct me if I'm wrong, like Chase and stuff, they have an automated system where if you've had too many credit cards or inquiries in X amount of time, it'll automatically reject the application, right?
Yeah, so all the banks have different bank rules and different bank policies, every single one. So therefore, like Chase, for example, they have a 5 and 24 rule. And they also have a 2 and 30-day rule. So those rules, just for Chase, mean if you've been approved for 5 credit cards within the last 24 months, 2 years, then you will automatically get denied with them. And their 2 and 30-day rule is if you've been approved with Chase for 2 cards in the last 30 days, you will not get a third. Like that, they have caps, right? All banks have these different type of bank rules and policies. So it's so crucial to like really know that stuff, but then start putting the cards in the right order, knowing where they pull from, knowing their bank rules of thumb and how to, the data points is what we call it. So that you can position yourself properly and you can get, instead of 1, 2, or 3 credit cards, just winging it, you can actually get 30, 40 credit cards and it's not going to hurt you. It's actually going to help you in so many cases, because in the long run, the longevity of it is you'll be able to be a good steward of those funds. You'll naturally get credit limit increases on those accounts, and you're also going to be able to get more, accounts in the future. Every 6 months, you can do another mass apply, get 40 plus credit cards. So it's really just incredible what you can do with it in the long run. And eventually, once they're old and aged, you can have, you can lease them out as authorized users and make a killing from that. I made one guy $21,000 in just 1 month's time frame, just because he had a bunch of old aged cards that are in good standings that people needed to help boost up their score. So we can teach people how to get up to the 800 club in less than 30 days.
Wow.
And
I'm like the 750 club. I want to hit the 800 club.
Yeah, man, you can do it. It really comes down to those 3 out of the 6 boxes.
Yeah.
It comes down. There's 3 boxes that are made for fix. The other 3 boxes are made for build. So once you identify that, the build aspect, that's 55% of your FICO right there.
Wow.
Yeah, so total accounts is 10%. They want to see mixed use. Average age, that's 15% of your FICO, and they want to see 9 years plus on that, which, you need authorized users to be able to do that.
Yeah, because if you're a young guy like us,
you can't go back in time.
You got to get the authorized users that can put you on there, so then you have a longer history, which then boosts that up.
Exactly.
It's crazy. It's a whole nother world out there.
It is.
The more I know, the more I realize I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why hiring coaches, right? Getting into ecosystems, joining credit council elite, getting around experts. Like, I'm such an advocate for my audience on this show to constantly be investing in themselves.
Oh yeah.
Because you're not going to know, and you're never going to be able to be a master of it all. I would much rather spend money, get around a guy that knows this stuff, implement what I'm learning, get results, than try to spend time on YouTube and Google and
that's what I'm saying.
Making all the mistakes, you know?
I mean, there's so much free content out there that by all means, if you're broke, busted, and disgusting like you and I were,
start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start there.
Well, we did. Yeah. Think and Grow Rich changed my life, bro.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So it's like, soak up that free content, but then afterwards, when you can afford to jump the line and skip so you can save time, like do it. And don't be scared of it. I've just last year, I invested $230K into myself just last year alone. And that was just in 1 year, So it's like every single year there's levels to just constantly, reinvesting, doubling down, finding new mentors, growing. And I've never seen, I've always got an ROI on it, bottom line, whether it's the connections in there, the resources that I receive, or the content that I receive from that individual, where it saves me a ton of time, a ton of finances, and it helps me get to where I'm trying to go a heck of a lot faster.
That's good. So now I'm going to ask some questions I just personally, selfishly want to ask, and the whole audience is going to benefit from.
Let's go. Yeah.
All right. The first one I think it's on everyone's mind. I got to ask, how many credit cards do you have?
I have, I don't have as much as I should. I have 50 something.
Okay. But that's still a lot of credit cards.
So the problem with my situation is that I have a lot of credit lines though as well. So I have several million in credit lines, business, personal, and so forth. But because I'm in the real estate space very heavily as well, side by side, to qualify for mortgages, you kind of need to prioritize mortgages first and then do mass applies next. So, I'm just getting done. I have one more refinance. I have 2 more refinances I have to do. And then after that, I'm going to it. But otherwise, I really only can stick with business credit cards, which holds me back from getting like this big arsenal. But there's 4,300 banks nationwide.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
They all want to lend to you.
And they all want to give you their money because they make money off you. But if you know how to work the system, you can win from it. So how much credit would you say you have access to right now?
I have a little over $3 million right now.
Okay, that's pretty crazy. 32 years old, access to a little over $3 million in credit, but you've also been a good steward of that.
Sure.
And I think about biblically the parable of the talents, right? And how the master came to the 3 servants and how he gave, one 3 talents, one 5, one 10.
Yeah.
One went and buried in the ground.
Yep.
The other 2 multiplied it, came back, gave them rulership over cities, took the one that buried in the ground, gave it to the one that multiplied the most. And I feel like we have an opportunity today to steward. And I even think credit is a biblical thing of how are you leveraging that? And you got guys like Dave Ramsey and stuff that come out here and teach so much against credit, but all my buddies that are super successful leverage good debt to become very wealthy.
Yeah. Well, his audience too. You gotta understand who he's speaking to, and also identify where he comes from. He comes from a place where he over leveraged originally, and during 2008 and so forth, he ended up filing bankruptcy. He lost his house and so forth. So once he got his stuff back together, he's like, oh no, this that hurt him very bad. So he's just letting everybody else know his hurt. And it's for this certain type of person out there that is blowing money at Neiman Marcus or like shopping a bunch, and it's bad debt, right? So, to that certain clientele, I would almost suggest cut up the credit cards.
Right.
Besides that, I wouldn't recommend that to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's very important to have that fine definition. If you're going to tell somebody to cut up credit cards, like please say it mindfully to the individual, and just be open about that conversation of like, who is this truly for?
Yeah.
Because if anybody hears and they start cutting it up because Dave Ramsey said it, it's like, oh man.
But like, if you're paying off your credit cards, you're good with your money, but you're just afraid to take on more lines of credit because you're not using it to multiply wealth, buy assets, to produce cash on cash returns. Like that person's in a place that just need to be educated how to leverage it.
That's exactly it. And I get this a lot from our students, because once they get, maybe their goal was 100K or 200K, and they're like, wow, like I got all this money, and then even with my help showing them like, hey, you can do this, this, and this now, it's going to help bring in this much. This is awesome. Congrats. They don't want to keep going after more credit lines when they're just getting started on their mass supply. Like you're 1 week into it. Like you still got a couple weeks left to knock out this 30-day mass supply and get another 200,000-300,000 in new credit lines. And they start saying, well, no, I think I'm good. There's a fear. There's a fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a mindset shift of realizing that just because you have it, you don't necessarily need to use it right now.
Right.
You can be a good steward and just watch it, and just when the opportunity comes around, and it will, especially in the next 6 to 12 months, I'm a firm believer that, and it's really just start changing the mindset and changing the lenses to realize like there's opportunity in front of us every single day.
Yeah.
You don't need to jump at every opportunity, but there's opportunity every day that if you start paying attention to this and you have the funds to do it and you're praying about it, I really do believe that there's going to be great opportunities that come, and getting comfortable with taking risk. And like, not everything pans out like we want, but there's definitely, the more that you're jumping into these opportunities, something will. And the risk takers, the fearless individual is going to really...
There's that old quote that says it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Yeah.
And in some of the biggest, even in my lifetime, I'm only 28 and I've seen different opportunities. I'm aware, I'm around people, I pay attention, I watch massive wealth opportunities that I never had the ability to jump in, even though I knew how to do it and who was doing it, because I just didn't have the capital.
Sure.
So then when I see guys like you that like teach us, I'm like, man, it's so valuable if you can get access to the funds when the opportunity comes. And it might not be that day. Yeah. You might have to sit for 6, 7, 8 months and wait.
Yeah.
But then boom, it's like I have access to capital to throw into this.
Yeah. And you got to be able to move quick too. So it's like the people that sit around on the sidelines, it's not, the real good opportunities are going to go quick.
And they come fast and they go fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So, for me, like I wanted to ask, like, I want to get into real estate and start investing. I'm predicting we're about to enter a really good time for that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to pay out my own money to do it.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah. OPM is always the name of the game as a real estate investor. I just take OPM to the next level. I do borrow money from private money lenders, hard money lenders, neighbors, and so forth. My family still isn't to that position, but we're teaching them, we're pouring in. But what I can tell you is that I take it to another level and I go right to the source. I go to the banks, and when I, flip the script on the script and or flip the script on the banks and I'm actually getting this funding from them, then you can actually take this, to the next level. When it comes down to real estate, I think what's most crucial is identifying which strategy you want to go after.
Right.
There's 30 plus ways to make money in real estate. If you look it up on Bigger Pockets, they're going to tell you like 100 ways, right? They really break down, get very micro.
Each micro lane, you can go in each one.
You get a duplex and a triplex and a fourplex. I just call it residential multifamily.
Right.
Yeah. But figure out which strategy, identify what it looks like to do these strategies from beginning to end, the money, the resources, the time, the efforts, energy, and everything else in between. I've had people tell me they want to do fix and flips, but then I asked about their situation and they're doing a commute to work every day for like an hour and a half drive every day. They got a newborn at home. They got, it just sounds chaotic. You can't do a flip like that, right, my friend, especially your first one. So it sounds cool online, social media, whatever it may be, but I don't think the season and the time that we're going into either is going to be justifying that type of. By all means, there's always going to be good deals. You can do it. But
what would you say is a good real estate investment to start with somebody that values their time?
Yeah, that's good. So right now, the season that we're going into, there's a couple different things. I think land is always going to be good, but I think land's going to get even better. And then I believe storage units are great, as well as the BRRRR strategy is never going anywhere.
Right.
Like if you can make.
Some people don't know what that is. Break it down real quick.
Yeah, the BRRRR strategy, it's a B and then 4 R's. So it's buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like a fix and flip, except instead of flipping it, selling it for a one-time profit, you're just doing a refinance on that and you're getting all your money back. Ideally, you want to have little money into that deal or no money into that deal so that you can get all the money back and repeat that process. So you're buying a distressed property, beat up from the feet up, and you're doing a full renovation on it, making it real sexy. Everybody wants to rent it out. You get a well-qualified tenant, and then, or you do short-term rentals. Like that's what we do out here.
With the Airbnb.
Airbnb, yeah. And then afterwards, you're just, you're taking those funds and you're putting it back out there. So I think like all real estate investors do some sort of value add, whether it's forced or, natural appreciation and so forth. But you really want to, that's what I focus on. I love the BRRRR strategy, and you can be in and out of deals, hang on to it for the long run, get the tax write-offs, appreciation and so forth, and the great cash flow. Yeah,
that's really good. So then say I'm going to buy my first distressed property. Right, I got a company that's going to do all the work. I'm going to buy it, and I have to put a certain amount of money down on that property to get the loan from the bank. Do you recommend using my own personal money in my bank account, or are you leveraging credit for that?
Yeah, so there's a combination of many different things. It depends on the location, is what I would say at first. Out here, all the properties are $1 million plus.
Yeah,
right. Where I first started, it was Ohio.
Midwest,
baby.
That's where I'm from. Let's go.
Yeah. So, I was looking in all the different states. I was looking in New Jersey, where I was from, and I still couldn't make sense of it. But long story short, you want to utilize credit first. And then if it's out here, I would recommend almost doing either hard money or private money with a combination of credit.
Okay.
But you want to have backup plans, being a man prepared with backup plans. A lot of people that fail in real estate, it's because they weren't fully educated on all the different strategies, all the different possibilities, and how to navigate through the obstacles. I've never been a part of one real estate transaction that went exactly how we had planned.
Right.
There's always been one or two one or two things that always pop up that show that, hey, we messed up here. We need to transition. So it starts off with plan A. The person that fails jumps right to plan Z right away and freaks out, instead of going to B, C, D, and so forth.
So let's lay out a scenario, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm from Michigan, right? Prices are way cheaper than San Diego.
Yeah.
Well, you get $1 million here is a shack, and out there it's a mansion on 40 acres.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But let's say I want to go back to Michigan, right? And I'm okay, I'm gonna buy a duplex.
Okay.
You know, and the duplex has been beat up a little bit. It's not super nice, right? Let's say I buy the duplex for $200,000.
Okay.
And I got to put what, 50 grand maybe into renovating it, maybe a little bit more.
Sure.
Let's call it 50 grand, right? So I got $250,000. I got to buy that property. I'm a little scared right now. I'm like, man, rates are a little bit higher than they used to be.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're telling me like, hey, if you want to avoid PMI, you got to put 20% down. So now I'm out, 50 grand that I got to put down?
Well, so this is the thing. I always think of it like this. I buy it all in cash up front.
Okay.
So I own it free and clear in the beginning.
Okay.
And that's either with credit, OPM, in some sort.
So you're at that point, but when you started, say
Same thing.
I don't got 250 grand, but I go out and I'm getting credit cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm buying a house with credit card credit.
Yeah.
And then I'm then go getting a loan against the asset to pay off the line?
No. Yeah. So that's part of the refinance part. It's the third R, right? So you're going to buy it with credit, all distressed, beat up. And then you're going to do the remodel with credit again.
Okay.
So you don't get screwed over by the contractors as well.
Plus,
you'll get enough points from doing the renovation that it kind of like rewards you at the end of the
vacation.
Yeah, like go on a vacation afterwards, right? What paid for it was the free points that you made from doing the renovation. So you're going to buy it with credit, remodel it with credit, rent it out to a well-qualified tenant, just like a bank would, like as if you're going to get a mortgage, the hoops and everything that you jump through, or get a property management company, but still oversee them just like you would for anything else. It's a business.
Right.
So make sure it's a good one. Rent it out to a good tenant afterwards. Then you're going to take it to a bank and it's free and clear, right?
And it's cash flowing.
Yeah. And it's cash flowing. So it's a business now. It looks good. And now, as long as the numbers make sense, which that's what's crucial to run your numbers up front. But in your case right here, the numbers, you have 250,000 into it. As long as it appraises for at least 300 something thousand, 320 maybe, then you can get about 70 to 80% of whatever that appraised at, right? And now you have a new loan. I don't have like what the numbers would be.
Right, but let's guesstimate.
Let's just say that you get that.
Let's say I got the 250.
Yeah, you get that 250 back and you pay off the credit cards.
Okay.
And
now I have this loan that I leverage this business to get with a lower rate.
Yes. Well, so the rate is going to be whatever the market is right now.
Okay, so it's going to go on the market.
Yeah. But think of it like this. If your mortgage now is for that 250,000, let's say it is 1,000 or 1,500 a month, but it's bringing in, because it's a duplex, it's bringing in 3,000 a month. You're cash flowing,
right?
So this is a thing that people that haven't jumped into real estate yet, that they're freaking out the last couple months because of the high interest rates. This is the absolute best time, and I cannot stress this out to the new investor. This is the absolute best time, because if you can make money on the interest rates now, then you are set for life.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe, and a lot of other, professionals believe this as well, that the interest rates are going to go down in the next, like this coming year. However, so you can always refinance when you get it, right?
Right.
However, if they don't, and they keep going up, you just locked in at the best rates that you possibly could, and you're still cash flowing.
And you're making money at the rate that you bought in at.
Yes.
So it's all about the numbers on the deal.
Yes. So and there's deals out there. There's motivated sellers. There's less people buying right now because of the interest rates.
And prices settled a little bit.
Yeah.
They're not as inflated, so you're getting a better deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it just comes down to, there's deals out there. There's going to be motivated sellers out there. There's people that are going through real life situations that need your help as a real estate investor. So when you come in, you solve that problem, you save the day. If you can work out the numbers and it still makes sense and you're conservative, you're just playing with the numbers just a little bit. Don't be like in the springtime when it was, crazy time, right? Yeah. But if you're conservative and you're pulling back a little bit, you thought it was going to appraise for 350, you're saying maybe 320, 300 maybe. And then, you just have that gap. That helps out tremendously.
Yeah, because if you're like, you got to be conservative
Yeah.
with the numbers. A lot of people get gung-ho about it. Could be this.
Yeah.
And then it comes in, not that. And they're like, oh, but I was banking on it being this.
Yeah. I always round up on expenses, and then I round down on income.
Okay.
Just to give a safe little buffer.
Yeah, that's so good. And in the beginning, you also mentioned other opportunities like Turo.
Sure.
Right? And you mentioned Airbnb. And then there's like buying and holding and like renting it out. There's flips. What is just like some strategies for the new investor that you'd recommend kind of getting their feet wet?
Yeah, I think for the new investor, first off, there's certain strategies with just life insurance policies. I highly
life?
Yeah.
Yeah, so going in, overpaying it. Can't you borrow back against that with a low rate on the policy to go pay off the credit card debt you just took to buy the house?
Yeah. So I'm about to put I have several policies, but I'm about to put a new policy. I just got approved the other day. And it's a big policy. I'm going to put $500K in. I'm going to pull out $468,000 in 10 days. Right. It's like,
right.
And then, so I get all my money back. It still acts as if it's all in there because it is in there. I'm just taking out a loan.
Yeah. Cause you're borrowing at a low rate against what
rate.
You put in.
Yeah.
And you have access to the funds again.
Yeah. And the money has a guaranteed interest rate behind it because it's just a certain type of policy that you're structuring. So it's some crazy stuff, man. Yeah. And it's also my death benefits behind it are
you're protecting your family, man.
Yeah, but it's a little over 8 million on that aspect. It's like 8.6 million on that. But if I never pay off the loans that I take out, I will still be good. Like you basically turn yourself into the bank, and that's the power behind it. That's what creates the generational wealth.
Guys, I want you to pay attention to this because this is what wealthy people do. It's like if you've ever played Robert Kiyosaki's game Cash Flow.
Yeah.
This is Brandon plays real life cash flow.
Real life
if you guys don't know what that is, it's Monopoly on steroids.
Yeah, it is.
And that's my favorite game. We play, dude, we'll have to have you guys over. We love playing Cash Flow with our friends. But I'm just so passionate about educating people on this stuff, man. I know you are. This is the call in your life, dude. Yeah. And like I'm still learning. Yeah. Like, and I went out and building a business and making it profitable and building it up. Like that was the first thing I had to figure out.
It's tough, man. Yeah.
It's not as easy as the social media and YouTubers said it was or the books.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, now it's about legacy, right? Like the Bible tells us that a good man leaves a legacy for his children's children.
Yeah.
And the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous.
Yeah.
So there's actually, I think, a call, especially on men as head of household, to build legacy, to build generational wealth. And what we're talking about today, guys, is the strategies that you just don't hear this stuff.
Yeah.
Besides high level conversations like this, or behind closed doors is where most of it's talked about.
Yeah, and you got to pay to get in those closed rooms.
You do, yeah.
And that's why I learned from the rich people that are doing it.
Yeah.
My mentors are making 50.
So, and I'm gonna tell them real quick, actually, how you're even on this show, bro. Like, you guys want to know like the craziness. I invested a lot of money to be in a mastermind, which led me to a network, to knowing you.
Oh yeah.
And when I moved out here, through that mastermind, and guys, I'm paying 5 figures for that. You know, like to be in there in that room, and I leverage credit to get into it. Made money off what I learned, paid it off, and now I was in the room. And then I remember, Brandon has his hand in a lot of things. There was an opportunity that he had, and I knew some wealthy people, and I pieced it together, gave value. You know what I mean? And you fast forward to today, and you're sitting here in the podcast just dropping gold.
It's so funny. It's a small world, but it comes down to like investing in yourself. It's not just in the books and time that you're putting yourself, but it's in the people and so forth, and realizing that when you're investing high level, like scary numbers into yourself to get into those those back room type of things, there's some unbelievable conversations that come forward with that, and you can really get some tremendous breakthrough in your business and resources and connections and so much more. Yeah,
and it's crazy how fast it can happen. I think about like who's going to be listening to this, right? And you're going to have my audience. You're going to have the person that has the 450 credit score, that's been terrible with their money, works a 9-to-5 job, stressed out, dream of being wealthy, and the advice that you'd give that person is going to be different where they're at than the guy that's like, hey, I have a 750 credit score, I make multiple 6 figures, but I'm not really multiplying my wealth. Yeah. I'm not building legacy, right? Sure. And it's like you guys teaching Credit Counsel Elite to the guy down here with 450, how you got to get into a position, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's probably been the biggest challenge in our like business, in the actual business of teaching, is that it's hard to, because technically, and I've said this for a long time, but I need to cancel saying this, but I can help anybody with a social. Nationwide, right?
Yeah.
But I realized over time, and from my mentors, like, I can't help everybody.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I want to, it's like the person that has been through the grit, like that has gone through the mud type of thing, that wants it more than I want it for them, right? And that's a big factor. And somebody that wants it for themselves stronger than I want it for them, they're going to do whatever it takes. They're going to push through, and they're going to kind of stumble and fall into some type of success, and then I can jump in and help them finish the run.
Yeah.
But and really save them time, money. Like what people don't realize is you're going to pay for credit one way or the other. And you're going to either pay to learn how to do it, or you're going to pay by like not knowing, and you're going to pay an interest over time, high fees, the opportunity cost of missing out on getting access to funding, and then not knowing how to be a good steward of the funding that you do have.
Yeah.
So that's a tough point, that it breaks my heart to not be able to like help everybody. But it just comes down to the people that are constantly investing in themselves, that have been in masterminds, that have big goals and aspirations of doing something, and they just need more funding. Like, I can jump in and I can help them catapult.
Yeah, right.
And do crazy stuff.
And I know a lot of guys like that. Like they've been good stewards of building their business.
Sure.
They've paid their bills, their credit's in good shape.
Yeah.
But outside of the business, they're not leveraging any of what they've built, right? And I'm sure that's like a great person that you want to work with. And I know a lot of people like that. And a lot of it's safety.
Well, it's scared money. Yeah. So like they start getting money. They're like, oh no,
I ain't letting this go, bro.
Yeah. So those guys are almost, in some cases, more difficult to. But once you show them, like once you just get access to like our group and you see other people doing it one after another, then they're like, oh my God, it's possible. Like this works,
That's so good, man.
So that's powerful.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I guess like what is, I always like to ask kind of like, what are you focusing on in 2023 this year?
Yeah. So we've just done a huge transition within Credit Counsel Elite. And in the past, it was kind of just a open frenzy. Like if you have invested in it, it's like a lifetime access. But again, we learned from our mentors, it's like, it's people show up for the first 90 days with stuff like that. And then afterwards kind of trickle out, and then they'll come back in from time to time when they need it and ask, the amateur questions that, they once knew, but they forgot.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of having a bigger transition of annual renewal mastermind aspect, and more content, just deep diving into travel hacking and so forth, as well as getting some big boy funding for people. And I have a big goal that I want to get everybody in our mastermind group, which we have a little over 100 right now. I want to get them all, many of which are in real estate investors, but anybody that isn't, I really want to show them the power of real estate this year by kind of like forcing them to get the credit afterwards, get the real estate. And if not, then we're all going to jump into a big syndication together.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. That's some big boy moves right there.
That's a big boy move.
That's big boy moves. All right. Are you afraid at all? I just want to ask, is there any fear around just what's going on in the United States? Do you have any fear? We talked about, being able to take risk, right?
Yeah.
But is there any fear just about the changes? Some people are worried that the government has an agenda to remove owning homes, to kind of own everything and have everybody rent from them. Any fear?
No fear. I think, in the past, just starting out as an entrepreneur, I was probably one of the most fearful. I was, because anything in the world could go wrong, and I was just like shaking of like what's going to happen. And then prayer really started changing that.
Come on.
And because the prayer really moved the crazy mountains that were in front of me. And then eventually, like the things that seemed impossible, and then I saw the miracle afterwards. And there's no reason or excuse for it.
Yeah.
Like you can't come up with reasons for these type of miracles. Then I was just like, man, Like our God is so much bigger than anything that
Come on.
I just don't. And it sounds crazy because some of the stuff that we're doing, like we're leveraging millions as well as building millions, you know, and there's crazy stuff that we're doing and not all of it pans out, you know, but we're starting to get like a better character of certain things, and what is working is crushing it. And I'm very thankful for just not having, you know, that any type of fear come over me anymore. It just doesn't even soak in, you know? And I'm very, very blessed for that, because that will, I mean, you're like a coffin right there.
Yeah. There's just so many people, I think, that are just held back by what if.
Sure.
You know, what if this doesn't work out for me? What if I fail? What if I lose money? And maybe that's you listening, you know, right now, you're just letting fear cripple you from taking action. And I just want to remind you guys that, like, we live in America, and the worst thing that happens, we have a limited liability company. Like you file bankruptcy, you lose your business.
Sure.
A couple of years, you can be back with great credit, start all over again. So it's just like, to me, there's no excuse.
Yeah. What if it goes wrong? What if it goes right?
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, everybody thinks about what if it goes wrong? What if it goes right? I like to play it out. Like when I used to coach, I'd say, let's play this thing to the end of the earth.
Yeah.
Let's go worst case scenario. Like it's bloodbath.
Yeah.
Like it's like, you know, Revelations, right? But then it's like the floodgates open. Let's go to that. And everything works out perfect for you.
Yeah.
And when you lay both out on the table, you actually realize, wow, I really don't have anything to lose in going for it.
Of course. And it just comes down to, like, once you actually deep dive into the statistics behind it and realize that, you know, out of the 60 to 80,000 thoughts that we have per day, you know, 80% of them are going to be negative. That's crazy. First off, that's sad.
How do we even survive?
I know, that's sad. That's very sad. But then the things that we fear the most, they typically never even come to fruition.
Yeah.
And the stuff that we are holding on to from the fear from yesterday, it's still with us and, like, you know, driving us crazy. And it's just, once you can realize that, like, God is so much powerful than that, you don't need to live in fear for anything. And just, you know, be smart, but, you know, at the same time, I think just having a stronger relationship with your higher power, you know, that will eliminate a lot of the BS that may be holding us back.
Yeah, man, that's so good. Well, dude, it's been an honor to have you on the show, man. You've really dropped some wisdom. I've learned a lot in this show. I know the audience has learned a lot. How can people find you, connect with you, learn about what you guys are doing?
Yeah, of course. I think the easiest way is really checking out creditcounselelite.com. That's www.creditcounselelite.com. Otherwise, checking out on Instagram, it's Brandon Elliot Investments.
Yeah, so good. Well, guys, as we wrap up the show, I haven't asked for you guys. You know, we're probably 7-8 episodes by now into the show. And the one thing is, if you got value out of this episode, you know, if you learned a lot from this episode, my ask is that you share this with at least one person. If you haven't given us a 5-star review yet or reviewed it, we definitely appreciate that. This is a passion project. There's no agenda to this. I'm paying for this out of my own pocket. We're not running ads. We just want to impact your life. We want to make a difference. We want to get wisdom like what Brandon shared today into the hands of people that wouldn't normally get that. My hope is that, you know, me and Brandon have had to pay the price to get into the rooms, make the mistakes. You know, I had to pay a hefty price to have a guy like this on this show. And you know what? You're going to have to pay that same price in your own way someday. But the hope is our conversation today, this free podcast, sparked something or it planted a seed. And you know what? There might be 1,000 of you listening to this right now, and maybe only one of you, only one, take and actually implement what we learned, but that could change your life. So I just ask that you help us reach more people, plant more seeds. And as always, guys, appreciate you for tuning into the Cody Cottle Show. Tune in next week to our next episode. And as always, go make today great.